Today we're going to be discussing the...
Let's try that again.
Yeah, let's try that again. What's up, dispatchers? JJ Morris and
Jason.
Coming at you today. Today is the after action report on our rendezvous videos when we were going through the Cahutta for an SHTF scenario where we were trying to meet up in the middle, right? Let's start off and talk about the journeys, because we had originally planned to do this journey at the same time.
And literally meet up.
Meet up.
Yeah.
But you ended up having something where you had to go out of town. Life happens.
Life happens.
Right?
Sorry, guys.
And that's the way that life goes.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to film them on different days, right? And there was a lot of the same things that occurred in the video, but there's a lot of talking points about things that we decided to do differently as well in the video.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts immediately on those videos? Like, what stood out to you?
Yeah, so we were traveling in the same general area, but encountered different terrain because the area that we were in has varying terrain based on where you are, based on the elevation, based on like 100 feet up that way. It's much, much different than down on the bottom. All right, so down in the river bottoms where the creeks are, where the little branches and springs and stuff are, you know, it's covered in rhododendron, thickets, mountain laurel thickets, and it's just briars and brambles, and it's an impenetrable jungle, basically, unless you just really like punishing yourself. You can get through it, but it's hands and knees, crawling, climbing over, falling down, slashing, hacking your way through. But if you go, you know, 100 yards up the hill, generally speaking,
It can get a little better.
It clears up a little bit, yeah.
Which brings up a very valid point, too, because you had a machete in your video.
Yes.
And having a machete actually was a determining factor in the route that you actually took.
Yeah.
Because I chose a route based on the fact that I did not have a machete.
Right.
But one of the things that I saw in both of our videos is, number one, we tried to communicate to the audience that, number one, you don't have to go in a straight line to get to your destination.
No, and as a matter of fact, traveling in a straight line is stupid.
In that particular case, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're not going to dead reckon through the Cahutta wilderness.
You could, but it would just be a nightmare.
Oh my God.
It would take you forever. You'd be walking at such a slow pace, half a mile an hour, if you tried to go in a straight line. It'd be so stupid.
So much longer too.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of points too, because I ended up having to actually use some navigation skill in my video, because I had a map of the area, and I wanted to kind of demonstrate that there is a need for that, you know, depending on the type of route that you take. Now,
especially if you're unfamiliar terrain.
Exactly. Now, you actually knew exactly where you were going.
Yeah.
And you knew you were going to run into a road at some point, as long as you
no
went in the southerly
no matter
direction.
Which kind of angle I veer off at, I knew I was going to hit a road.
Eventually you're going to hit that road.
I'm going to hit that road, and I knew if I aim off to the left, or in that case, I guess it would have been the east, I think. To the east, I knew I would hit that road, and if I turned right when I hit the road, it would take me where I wanted to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, another thing with that, too, is the logging roads. You talked about that in your video. I talked about it in mine.
Yeah.
On the map, there was only one logging road that was actually on my map, and that was the main logging road from, say, 40 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to be able to find that, because off of that were a bunch of branches of logging roads that went off of that. And that's something that you brought up in your video, is that it's not always going to be on the map.
Yeah, logging roads, at least the ones that I was walking, I was using a little bit. The logging roads are not on the maps. They're not going to be on your GPS. They're not going to be anywhere, anything like that. So, but utilizing the logging roads is pretty helpful, because it's much easier walking. Instead of walking on a hillside that looks like this, you've got a reasonably flat surface. Yeah, you're not going to roll your ankle on it. It's thick, right, because it's been cleared. It's got smaller trees and stuff like that.
Saplings that are growing up or whatever.
That's an issue, but it's reasonably flat terrain where otherwise it's non-existent.
Yeah, because if you're walking on, let's say, a high angle, you're going to be utilizing different muscles.
It wears you out.
And it wears you out like really fast.
Yeah, so using the logging roads is pretty helpful. I do it most of the time, especially when I'm hunting and stuff and I'm just out and about. I'll hop on a logging road and I'll use it as long as I can until it doesn't go in the direction I want. But yeah, they're really, really helpful. But they're not, generally speaking, in my experience, going to be on your map.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. So that's something you need to be aware of. And if you do find these logging roads, then you can, in fact, like you mentioned, put them onto your map.
Yeah, yeah. If you're using a paper map,
Yep.
right, just jot those roads down. That way, in the future, you know where they are and you get to it. And it's a highway considering in comparison to other terrains that you might
Right.
be going through. I mean, you can cover some ground on a logging road, even if it is overgrown a little bit.
Which is a big part of what we're trying to communicate to y'all as well, is that you won't know these things unless you actually get out there and train.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll find these little gems, if you will, when you actually get out there.
Yeah, and if you're planning on using an area, for some reason, if that's your bug out plan, whatever, it doesn't matter what the scenario is we're talking about. If that's your plan to go through an area, be familiar with it. Don't make the first time you've ever been there be on the day when the bomb drops.
And not only having the one route, being able to change your plan in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? If you have to go around something or whatever.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it may not always be the best, most tactically efficient route to get there.
Yeah.
But you need to be aware of that. That's something you should be planning for at home.
Yeah.
Now, another thing, too, that stood out to me, because when I was going up the logging road, I was basically running parallel to, old Highway 2 up there. And you talked about being able to hear vehicles from a really, really long distance away, right?
Yeah.
That's something that I've always relied on as well. And when I was going up that logging road, which is a really long jaunt for me to get through there, I didn't hear a single vehicle while I was out there, period.
Yeah.
Not even one.
Yeah, no traffic at all. Same for me. Not a single vehicle went on the road that I was on the entire time, which is pretty normal. It doesn't get traveled
and
much.
We really can't stress that enough. Like he was talking about, he would have plenty of time to actually get off the road if you had to jump into the woods.
I'd have several minutes of time. On a gravel road, with one exception, at nighttime, you might be able to see headlights at nighttime, but at nighttime when the cicadas and katydids are really getting after it,
loud.
Yeah, you may not hear stuff quite so far off. But during the daytime, it's pretty quiet, and you can hear the sound of a vehicle on a gravel road.
It was
forever.
extremely still and extremely quiet that particular day that I went.
Yeah.
You had the same thing in your journey, right? As well.
Yeah, pretty quiet outside. I mean, you got your, cicadas chirping every now and then, but for the most part, you're going to hear a vehicle that's a very distinct sound, long ways away. And especially in the summertime, if you're talking about concealment, and if that's an issue, and you're trying to keep a low profile, it is not hard.
There was no issue of concealment or cover.
Just stand still,
for
and
us.
you're hidden.
Oh, that's a huge one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just staying still.
Yeah, you don't even have to hide. Just stop moving.
Just stop moving, right?
Yeah.
And animals do this all the time. I would probably say 90% of the animals that are around you, they literally stay still like that, and you don't pick up on it.
Right.
We don't see it.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Yeah, just to think of a deer, right? You look at a deer's going on its way, it's got its head down, it's munching along on acorns, and then it'll stop. It'll look around, being really quiet, listening, looking, and then it'll carry on. And it does that all day long because it's constantly looking for a predator that wants to eat it, right?
Exactly. And the Cohutta is full of predators, right?
Yeah.
You've got all the bears, you've got all the hogs, which I have seen hogs carry deer in their mouths off. I've got pictures of it.
That's crazy.
I may even just go ahead and throw one into the film
just
for the fun of it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because I used to hunt hogs professionally, and so I've seen, they are a predator.
Yeah.
They will. The
They
coyotes
like anything
that are there as well.
Yeah, lots of
I
coyotes.
heard owls while I was out there as well.
Yep.
But I think the balance in the Cohutta is off as far as prey versus predator. What do you think?
Yeah, probably so. I think right now it seems like we have a ton of bears in the Cohutta, tons of bears and very few deer. From what in my personal experience, trying to hunt there, a lot of bears. I mean, yeah, you could kill bears obviously
everywhere.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we both saw sign a bear when we were out.
Oh yeah,
and that always comes up in the comment section. People are always saying, there's 4,000 bears in that area that y'all are in. Like, aren't you scared? Aren't you nervous?
Yeah.
No.
You know what I've seen of bears? Their butts as they're running away. That's what I see of bears. I've never had any, with the exception of one. I've only had one questionable encounter with a bear where I was legitimately nervous that the thing was interested in me for other purposes. So, but usually you see a bear, you make noise, and it's hightailing its way away from you. That's 99% of the time.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that 100%.
Yep.
There were some other things too that we talked about though. One of the things to me is that I wanted to tell the audience is when you're going on a trip like that, you need a lot less than what you actually think you need. right? Like, how much of our gear did we actually use on those trips?
Right.
I mean, in reality.
I travel really light. So I take pretty much the essentials, and honestly, most of the stuff that I use is in my pockets.
Right.
Like, most of the things that I use, the tools, it's on
tactically
me.
efficient.
Yeah, it's in my pocket.
able to
It's
get
on my
to it
belt.
fast.
Yeah, I don't keep a lot of tools in my pack or anything like that. The only stuff that stays in my pack is pretty much my shelter and my sleeping gear, spare clothing, that kind of stuff. But other than that, if it's attached to my body. And that, I mean, even clothing, that's your shelter, right? If you're dressed appropriately this time of year, I mean, you really don't need a whole lot. Primarily, my clothing this time of year is to keep the bugs from biting me.
That's it for me.
Yeah, I'm not trying to stay warm because even at night, I mean, even if it gets in the coldest it's going to get at night around here is probably the 60s, maybe high 50s.
Mine was in the 80s.
Yeah.
I know of it because I was sweating it. Even when I sat down in
Sitting
the video and I laid up against that tree. Now, mind you, I had been going all day long, and it took me about an hour to just stop profusely.
You're soaking wet,
sweating.
Whether it's raining or not. Yeah, try to put on rain gear this time of year where we live. It's stupid.
And I can only imagine you walking through all that rhododendron and mountain laurel.
Soaking
like
wet.
You get soaked.
Yeah,
walking through that.
There's literally no point in putting on rain gear. It makes no sense.
And your feet as well.
It's just wet.
Like that area that you were showing where the hogs had gone through. I just smiled when I saw you walking through it because the cameras really don't show what that's like. They didn't show the hills the way they were, the terrain. There's actually a spot where I was on one of the draws coming off of Iron Mountain where the entire face of it is rock, and none of it is like set in stone. So every step that you take, you run the risk of rolling
Breaking
your
an ankle.
a tib-fib break, falling down, smashing your head, whatever.
Right.
And I actually was proud of myself because I put the camera away and I said, because I used to be that guy that would have to go in there and rescue people in a scenario like that. And that's a $60,000 chopper ride out of there.
Yeah.
And I was like, you could not be that dude. Right?
Yeah.
Because I knew if I did get hurt, number one, I wouldn't be able to call anybody. There's absolutely no reception.
Zero, yeah.
Zero up there.
Yeah.
And even if we had ham radios, we would have to get to elevated positions.
Yeah, because line of sight is not a thing.
Up there.
Yeah. Even on a hilltop, it's questionable.
Right. I think in the entire time that I've ever been in the Cahutta, one time I was chasing this, monster deer, and I got up to the top of Iron Mountain, and I got a text. And it shocked me.
One little blip of service.
One little blip of service.
Yeah.
That
I got a couple of spots where I know I can get a little bit of service, enough to maybe send a text out, but it's rare.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Now, another thing, too, was the trail systems, like the journey versus the destination mentality. That's something that I want to talk about because you hit that topic in your video, and I really like that because, do you want to be comfortable on the journey?
Yeah.
Or do you want to be comfortable when you get to your destination?
Yeah, everything's a trade-off. So I can carry all the stuff. I can load up a backpack with 75 pounds of gear that's going to feed me, it's going to clothe me, it's going to make me cozy and comfy.
Any situation that could happen
I could be ready for anything. And it would be fantastic when I get there. But getting there sucks. It's just, I hate carrying a giant big backpack that's sticking up above my head and I'm getting hung up on things.
You can't go through that kind of terrain without having a minimalist style backpack like we were both wearing.
It's such a burden. And while I may be a little bit uncomfortable upon arrival at my destination, a little, I'm still pretty comfy, but I may want a couple things. I don't need anything else, but I may want a couple things. It's just going to make my travel there so much more miserable.
Well, I can tell you something in my own experience or whatever. Number one, we were traveling all day long. It's a very physical journey, right?
Yeah.
Plus, there's also the not knowing factor. Like, there was one moment in my journey where I was like, man, I should be able to see this trail. I should be able to see the Iron Horse Trail, and I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And so I just literally took a chance.
Yeah.
And just,
started
traversing, and I found it.
Yeah. Because you won't see it until you're standing on it, pretty much.
Right, exactly. Because it was hidden over a hill and a drop-off, and there was so much cover there.
In the summertime, it's thick.
It's so thick up there.
Yeah, the thickest areas are next to any kind of clearing, whether it's going to be a trail or it's going to be a road or whatever. That's where all the sunlight can get in there, and that's where all the greenery is going to be. So you're not going to see the stuff. Even that road, even the road that I was searching for, you couldn't literally see the road. I knew where it
20 meters away.
Yeah, I knew where it was, so I knew when to start looking for it. But 100 yards away, I could almost kind
Maybe.
of catch a glimpse, and then you get in the thick of it again, and it disappears until you're standing on the road.
Now, you know, talking about that journey versus destination or whatever, like in my particular case, I actually kind of screwed up, and I talked about it in the video because I had been going and I got down, you know, we're filming, right? It's different than if we were doing this, if we were doing it on our own without having to film for y'all, right? So that kind of changes your mindset a little bit when you're doing it.
Sure.
And I didn't get as far as I thought I was going to get because I was filming, right?
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, oh my God, I'm losing filming light.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to film this. I've got to, like, book it, right? So what am I going to do for my shelter?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you know, in this particular case, I found that tree, which is the best tree I've ever slept on ever before. But
it's like a recliner.
A valid point, you know, you were talking about being comfortable once you get to the destination. Okay, I was extremely comfortable, number one, because I was dead tired. Right? I was hot and I was sweaty. And I think I could have fallen asleep laying down just on the ground.
Just anywhere.
Like anywhere. I was that exhausted or whatever. But I slept really well. Now, when I watched your video, I was super jealous because I hate sleeping on the ground. That's like, I cannot stand the chiggers, the ticks, the scorpions, the spiders, the ants.
That's always crawling on your face. It's not that they're biting you. It's just in the middle of the night you feel things crawling on your
weird
face.
things happen. It could just be a daddy long leg. And you think that, you know. It's a whatever attacking you.
It's hard to ignore it.
But seeing you in a hammock, and I was like instantaneously jealous that you had a hammock there, because I always carry a hammock typically. I just didn't have one on that particular journey.
I'll do two different ways of sleeping. I'll sleep on either a ground pad underneath some sort of tarp-like shelter, or I'll sleep in a hammock underneath a tarp-like shelter. So in the summertime, the hammock's hard to beat. I mean, it is.
Oh yeah.
It's dry off the ground.
I sleep so much better. It's actually better on my back.
Really?
Than it is me sleeping on the ground.
As long as you sleep in them right, you know how to sleep in a hammock.
Know how to hang it properly.
If you know how to hang it right, you know how to sleep in them, you've had some experience sleeping in them and get used to that.
That's huge.
It's really comfortable, and you can usually wake up, even if you go to bed soaking wet, which you often do, you'll wake up fairly dry.
I was soaked when I went to bed.
But if you lay on the ground, you're going to get less ventilation, less airflow, all that stuff. So I'll switch to the ground when it gets cooler outside, just because it's easier for me to stay warm by sleeping on a ground pad and sleeping bags and all that stuff. But when the summer months are here, hammock.
It's the way
all
to go.
Day, every day.
Sure. And I don't know any other survival instructor or outdoor enthusiast or whatever that does this all the time that wouldn't agree with us on that particular topic or whatever. And that brings up a valid point too, because the church, right? Like, you found the church there that you could sleep under, because in your video it rained.
Oh, it rained.
Right, it poured rain.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It rained.
In mine there was zero rain. Which, I guess there's something that I want to talk about too, because when we're exhausted, like we were after doing that, it is hard for us to film and be coherent with our thoughts sometimes. And I noticed that in my video. I was sitting there thinking about you when I was trying to talk, because I actually misspoke in my video. When I was talking about sheltering, I was trying to convey to the audience that you need to utilize some common sense when you're doing this. There was no need for me to put up any kind of tarp or poncho, because number one, I would have welcomed the rain. Because I was so hot. It was so humid. And what I misspoke was, I said it would be far less calories if I set up a lean-to or like a plow point or something like that, when I shouldn't have grouped that together. And that was just because I was mentally exhausted.
Mentally challenged at the moment.
When I was, and I was like, you have to get through this. You only have like literally 5 minutes to get through it. And there were comments about that, right? Like, you know, it only takes 1 to 5 minutes to set up a plow point or something. You're absolutely right. Yeah, but I was just mentally drained.
And you got other things going on behind the scenes
stuff that y'all don't really see or whatever. But that was something that I was thinking about. Another thing is water sources. Why would we not want to sleep? Because there were a lot of questions in the comment section about that.
Sleep closer to the water?
Yeah, I had a lot of people say, why would you get 300 yards
Yeah.
300 meters, 400 meters away from your water source.
Yeah, so I could touch on that. So in the summertime, there's two different reasons. So depending on the season. In the summertime, the reason you don't want to sleep near the water source is because the bugs will eat your face off.
Oh my God.
They will chew
Especially there.
Yeah, they will chew you alive. Even though it's a fast flowing stream or something that you might be near, there's always going to be small little pockets or puddles or pools. Even just the ground is more saturated. or wet. And there's going to be mosquitoes. There's going to be biting gnats and flies and
no seums.
Everything's going to want to eat you.
Everything that lives needs water.
Everything's close to the water. So, and it's just going to be hotter, muggier, way more humid down in the bottom. So
your clothes don't dry out as fast.
So pretty much, and then in the wintertime, for example, in the wintertime, you don't want to sleep down there because you'll freeze your butt off. Yeah, so either in summer, you're going to get eaten, or in the winter, you're going to freeze. So the bottom is, generally speaking, not where you want to be. The flash floods aside, like, there's all kinds of reasons why you don't want to be there. But those two reasons are the reasons.
In our situation, too, and that's kind of what we're trying to communicate to y'all, is you need to make these determinations based on your scenario, your environment, your situation.
And then, with that said, maybe there is a reason why you want to be in the swampiest, muggiest place. Maybe someone's looking for you. Maybe you're trying to hide
from
them.
And
no one's going to look for you in the swamp of infested malaria-carrying
just like in the movies,
mosquitoes.
Right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, maybe that's the string your hammock up over the stream or something like that, because no one would expect you to do that. Like, maybe, I don't know. But for the most part, sleeping in the bottom sucks. Don't do that.
Right.
Get up higher elevation where there's going to be a little bit of a breeze going
on.
Not
too high, like
not on
the
top.
High, right? You might get silhouetted. If this was a SHTF
somewhere
scenario,
in the middle.
And what are the pirates? What do you call the pirates that are coming
after
you?
Zombie biker lesbian pirates?
Sure, whatever.
Those are the worst.
Coming after you.
Yeah, they're bad. Man.
I actually had some comments. People were like, "Why did you eat at your shelter site?"
Yeah,
like the bears might.
Oh
come,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in my particular case, I'm a hunter, and for me, that's good.
I will eat the bear.
I want the thing to come after me because that's just passive hunting.
You're
for
the
me.
bait,
right?
Yeah.
I'm the bait. You know.
That's a good idea. That's a good call. Yeah. I have broken that rule more times.
A billion times.
I've eaten and slept in my hammock before, because sometimes you just show up and you're exhausted. And wore out. Long day of whatever it is you're doing, and you just want to. Yeah, you just need something to eat, and you need to go to sleep for a minute. So, yeah, I mean, it's a general rule to not eat, if you're in bear country, to not eat where you sleep. Yeah, use your judgment wisely.
I think because we were in a predator-infested area, and I think there's a lot to be talked about with the survival cliches, like the stuff that you see in the books, right? Like, you should never eat by your camp, or whatever. Yeah, I fully understand that.
Yeah.
But in my case, in your case, like, neither one of us were worried about, because we saw a lot of aggressive bear sign.
Oh yeah.
In the videos.
Oh, there was a post. It was just nasty, right next to where I was.
That was a great one, and that's what I was looking for in my video.
Yeah.
Is like, where is the current scratching post? Because when I first got into that area, my first initial thought was hogs when I saw the markings on the trees, and there were comments about that. And you don't want to be quick to judge or make a decision based on the first sign that you see. I actually checked out that entire area, and that's when I found his bed. That's when I found where his wallering spot was, and I found all the prints, tracks, etc. I knew 100%, beyond a shadow of a doubt, like, this is a heavily traveled bear site that I'm at.
Yeah, you can't really avoid them out in that area. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. They're as plentiful as deer here, you know. Yeah, they're all over the place.
Which brings up another point, being calm. Because I did read comments on both videos where people stated that they appreciated that we were calm in that situation, instead of being like the the gung-ho survival video with the fast-paced music in the background.
We gotta go!
Like, we have to do this, SHTF!
Jumping off cliffs!
And I think that that's really important. And I'm glad that some people noticed that about both videos, because that is something that we're trying to tell you. You have to calm yourself down, and you have to be able to stop, think, observe, and make a plan.
Running is rarely a good option in any situation in a wilderness setting. Like, there's really no reason to ever run and freak out and be in a hurry. I mean, very rare does that happen. Now, usually the smart thing is to slow down.
From a first responder standpoint, we were actually taught not to run because you lose a lot of the dexterity in your hands, right? If I have to work on you, that's important.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're watching movies, for example, you see these people in there just hauling ass to get to the patient.
Yeah.
Right? Well, in real life, that's not how that works.
So I some of you may know, some of you may not. I used to work for the Navy. I was a human performance specialist for Naval Special Warfare, and part of my job was to do performance testing, right? So basically, one of the things that we did, we'd hook up a heart rate monitor to you, right? So you're about to enter a building, and you're about to make stuff happen going into this building, and I've got you hooked up to a heart rate monitor, and I've got everybody hooked up to a heart rate monitor, and I can measure the effects this has on your performance. So one example, this is one small example. The higher your heart rate, usually the worse your performance.
Yes.
So if you can control your heart rate and slow that down a little bit,
that's a great point.
You will be much more focused, and you'll be much more able to accomplish the task at hand. It's a big deal.
Take it from professionals. That is what really matters.
Yeah.
In both of our experiences on different spectrums, ends of the spectrum as well.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really great point. What about hygiene? That was something that came out in both videos. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a creek.
Yeah.
Because we did discuss, especially in your video, I think you had a lot more access to water in your video.
Yeah.
Now, I did screw up at the forefront of mine because of my not having possum mentality. I was literally trying to film, like, you got to get this video going, right?
Yeah.
And so I walked past my first water source thinking, oh, I have plenty of time. There's a creek on the map,
Yeah.
right, which had dried up.
Yeah. You can always find water in that area. The problem is it may take you off your desired route.
Path.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. You could always find it. If you just go downhill, pretty much in any direction for any length of time, doesn't really take that long. But it'll take you off the path that you want to go. That might be the most direct route.
Right. And I was worried a little bit because I went ahead and we both did this. We would get the water, we would filter and purify it, we would drink it down, and then we would fill it back up again.
Yeah.
And when I went up the mountain, I was up high. I think it was a 983 foot difference.
Yeah.
Right, of where I was at.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a long journey for me up high.
Right.
On the ridge. Right. And I was getting extremely thirsty.
Yeah.
At that point, even though I had been taking electrolytes.
Yeah.
And I had drank plenty of water on the trip.
You're just sweating.
Oh, you're just sweating. Like, oh my God, they just turned the switch on and let it go.
Yeah. But yeah, I was near my route. I followed water basically to get to the road that I was searching for. And that road was close to water, right? Generally speaking, that road kind of followed the contours of the land where the water went. So I knew where the water sources were, and then I knew I'd never be too far from it, and it wasn't going to be a problem.
Now, if it was an issue, I could have turned off the camera and I could have aborted
and went down to the water.
And went down to find the water.
Sure.
But in my case, too, when I was coming down off of it, I didn't see any tracks of any animals when I was coming down because it was extremely rocky in the area that I was going down.
Animals aren't stupid.
And they're not going to do that either.
Path of least resistance. That's what all animals do. Yeah.
Right. So I was coming down that pretty fast because I was coming down at a pretty fast pace to get to the water, to try to find my shelter, etc. At that point, I was expending a lot of energy.
Sure.
Especially at the end there, which you talked about, and I both talked about in our videos, pacing yourself.
Yeah, slowing down, pacing yourself, not overheating this time of year, not overheating, it doesn't matter what time of year it is. It could be wintertime. Don't overheat and start sweating. For different reasons. One, hypothermia in the wintertime, but in the summertime, not dehydrating, overheating, heat exhaustion. That's a real thing. I just did that. I tried to walk 40 miles.
Yeah, God bless you.
I tried to walk 40 miles in the summertime with one bottle of water, and it didn't go well, right?
Right.
Obviously. I mean, I knew it wasn't.
We knew that at the very beginning.
I knew it wasn't going to go well, but a lot of people.
Georgia, August, the temperatures, the humidity, which people from the north that don't understand the temperature and the humidity thing.
It's a big thing. It's a big deal.
Cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, a lot of people thought 40 miles was no problem, but a lot of things learned from that is that, one, if you're hoofing it on open ground and trails and roads, you can cover quite a bit of distance in a short period of time.
Right.
Compared to what we were doing and bushwhacking and all that.
You're not going to do it there.
You're going to cover, I think on my video, if I covered 5 miles, 6 miles, probably is all I did that whole day. Maybe a little more back and forth, kind of walking to water sources, but not far.
Okay, the last time that I did the route that I took, I ended up going, I want to say it was 14 miles total. But the difference is that I had the Iron Horse Trail for the majority of that expedition. Now, it wasn't like always perfect walking by any means.
But trail is big difference. Yeah.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
And that one hasn't been, because it used to be a horse trail back in the day. And that's how I found out about it, was the guy's property that I ended up on. He told me about that trail when they were really young.
Yeah.
Right. And so I had to actually seek it out to find that trail.
Right.
Which is something, if you actually know people in an area, you can get a lot of information from people that know the area.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, if somebody went with one of us out in that area, we would know.
This is here, that's there, that's the thing.
This is, perfect. So take advantage of your community.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yep.
Which brings up, I think, the final last point. I think, I may be wrong, we may be able to see it in the comment section, but I think it was Jason Garling was the only one that caught that we didn't end up at the exact same place.
Right.
And I kind of want to talk about that because, number one, you were at a church that literally,
cemetery.
If you look at the map, if you look at the map, he was maybe, if I was in my Jeep and I left the property that I was on, it would literally take me 7-8 minutes to get there on gravel roads.
Right.
Right.
Going
20 miles an hour and under.
Right.
Or whatever. So if we had to walk it to meet up, I'm going to say 20-30 minutes,
and you'd be there,
and we would have been together.
Yeah.
If we had cut it in half and met in the middle.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, like we said at the beginning of the video, it wasn't really, life happens and we couldn't work on the same day. I mean, ideally we would have met up in the same spot and done the things. But I think what the point of the videos is like what our tactics would be to get to a location, whatever our meeting spot is, doesn't matter what it is. What would be our strategies to get there?
Right.
Yeah.
And then trying to communicate to you that you need to think about the different approaches that both you and I took based on the resources that we had on us at the same time.
Right.
Right. You need to consider that with your own journeys, and you need to get out there and you need to train.
Sure.
Like we did. That was a scenario based on what we would potentially do. Something that could very likely happen to us because we are both content creators. We typically film.
I'm there every week.
On the same day. Right. We're in the same area all the time.
Yeah.
And so that is a highly likely scenario for us. So we wanted to communicate to you what's the highly likely scenario for you. And we did see a lot of that in the comment section. Have you got the comment section pulled up?
Yep.
Let's just see what some of the comments were and we can respond to them. Because I thought there were a lot of comments on those videos.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Probably over 100 on both. Lord knows how much content you shot and how much you actually used.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Those videos, I hope you guys appreciate those kind of videos because they take by far the most amount of time. Videos like this where we're sitting and talking to the camera, we appreciate these videos because they're by far the easiest to edit.
Film,
easiest to film and easiest to edit. The ones in the field, my goodness.
Maybe like 10% of the film goes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm moving the camera a ton to get interesting different angles and stuff. And you're filming. Yeah, maybe 10% goes into
Maybe. It may even be less than that.
Probably less, yeah. Yeah, we're filming hours of footage, like probably 3 hours of footage, give or take.
So long to edit that out.
Yeah. Wish Jason could have come along. I know.
I know.
Everybody loves me. There's not enough of me to go around. That's the problem. That's what it is. That's what I struggle with, you know?
Yeah. And we will have films coming up where we are together.
Yes.
Like, a matter of fact, we're going to shoot one here in a little while.
Yeah.
Of us going out. So y'all have that to look forward to.
It's my bad, guys. I had to go visit my granny. You guys, if you saw the video with my granny, she was born during the right at the beginning of the Great Depression, right in the middle, I guess. And she's amazing. And I needed to go visit her.
So much knowledge and wisdom.
Yes, I have to go visit her. She's 89. She's not getting any younger, and I will visit her before making a video every single time.
Right on.
I'd like to see more desert locations. I live in Arizona, and yes, it gets very hot. His was a little typo there, but that's okay. I forgive you. It was a very good video, and you covered most of the needs that we all face in the outdoors. Yeah, I love visiting different climate zones, different terrains and stuff. I love it. It's just time, effort, energy, cost getting there. I don't live anywhere near a desert.
Right.
We live a couple thousand miles away from the closest desert, so it makes it difficult. A couple times a year I might venture out and see some new places, but I've found that most of the people in the United States live on the East Coast, and they are seeing the terrain and features that's similar to what we are experiencing.
Right.
So that relates to the most viewers.
I think the only way that we could do that, maybe Tyler could do a video on that, bugging out.
Yeah, he lives out in Utah and close to the desert, so he could definitely do that and give you some desert content. I mean, I've done stuff on coastal areas, oceans and stuff. They never are quite as popular as the stuff right here.
Like when I did the Boundary Waters out in between Canada, it was like average temperature -26.
Yeah.
Like that video did not get as many. And I did the Quincy. I had to drill in the ice. I lost a third of my beard. It broke off because it was so cold. Like it just snapped off in my hand.
While that's awesome, it's cool. Just most people don't relate.
No, they can't relate to that
kind
of terrain.
That's not their turf.
Why are you sleeping on a frozen lake?
Yeah, go where it's warm.
Or going out to Colorado. Like I did a lot of filming out in Colorado, and that video didn't get as much traction as I thought it should have because I was in the desert, the Sonoran Desert. I was on several different of the features, like the Colorado Monument, etc. And I don't know why those videos don't do well. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it just goes back to what people can mostly relate to, right? You're speaking their language if you're on their turf. Like the video, thanks for doing that. For a Scout, I carry a Sawyer water filter. Okay, so the Sawyer water filters I like. The Sawyer Mini I like. I use it as a backup. I never use that as my primary water filter, and I don't use it for a couple reasons. One, once it gets wet, it's difficult to dry them out, and if they freeze, they're damaged. It's a thing. They get moldy and nasty, whatever. So I don't use them except for a backup because they're small and portable. I've used the water bags that the Sawyer Minis come with. I've dropped the water bag one time from a standing height on gravel, and it busted the lid off and broke my container.
I've had the exact same thing happen.
Yeah, so those aren't really reliable in my opinion. The filters themselves are pretty good because they can screw onto a water bottle, a regular water bottle,
on your Camelback.
Yep. So I do like those, but just as a backup, it's never going to be my primary water filter. I like the Grails better.
Me too.
Mostly because it's a water bottle too.
Exactly.
That's why I like them. That's the primary reason why I like them.
Plus, I don't have to even when the filter gets clogged up, like with a Sawyer, trying to squeeze. Yeah. Oh my God. That's such a pain in the butt for me.
I'll hang them sometimes. I'll hang them and just let gravity. Yeah, that seems to be the best way to do it.
We have better ways now.
Yeah. What do you do about ticks and creepy crawlies at night? This is always a question whenever we do in the field videos. So ticks, creepy crawlies. Moved to Ohio from Arizona, so obviously in Arizona it's going to have less ticks and stuff. Yeah. So, what do I do about bugs? I wear long sleeves, top, bottom. I wear pants. I wear a long sleeve shirt. If the bugs are really bad, I'll cover my face up with something, whether it be a bug net or just a shemagh of some sort, a net gaiter, something to keep them from biting my face. And when they're really bad, they can bite through single layers of clothing too. So that's a pain in the neck. I get it, but I don't like to put poisonous chemicals on my body when I can help it. Like I've used permethrin before.
Me too.
But I'm pretty sure that stuff causes cancer in every state, not just California.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive.
California is special.
I know. I think it causes it in all 50 states, but it's bad stuff. It does work. Yeah. I've had success with it, but I don't know how.
Not to mention, okay, seriously, let's get real about that. Okay, so the terrain that we were moving through, you're constantly brushing up against stuff. We're sweating. Yeah. Right? It's raining. Yeah. You know, it's not going to hold up or last as long as you think it is.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And generally, I mean, if you wash your clothes at all, it usually washes off. It's gone. You got to retreat the stuff every time. It's a pain in the neck, and it's just not very practical, especially if you're doing the stuff on the regular.
Expensive.
Yeah, if you're doing the stuff regular, it's not practical. It doesn't make any sense. Right. So bug spray, DEETs, and all that stuff, while DEET is very effective against mosquitoes, it again, is poison, and I generally try not to use it. I don't want to put that crap on my body if I can help it. So again, I just face the heat. I cover myself up with long sleeves. I'll even wear gloves if mosquitoes are really, really bad. I've been in the Everglades before when there's literally clouds of mosquitoes coming at you, and you can see them coming.
They all have pilot licenses and stuff.
It's horrible, but it's real. But if you don't cover yourself from head to toe, they will find a spot. I had one spot exposed right here, and one spot exposed where there was a slit in my glove.
And they still got you.
And they chewed
I've
that
had the exact same thing with no-see-em.
Yeah, same.
Happened to me.
Yeah, so I cover myself up the best I can. That keeps the mosquitoes off of me. When it comes to ticks will get on you.
It doesn't matter.
Nothing you can do. They will get on you. You just need to do regular tick checks
Yep.
every day.
And I always feel them crawling on me.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I generally,
on my head.
It's usually I'll feel them. Yeah. But always do tick checks. Check the nooks and crannies, especially the crannies.
Down here.
Yeah. Check
the Holy Trinity.
Yeah, I've had them in the
take care of
armpits
that.
and all the stuff.
Yep.
So check all the spots and feel for things that don't feel natural, don't feel normal.
And I think what most people are expecting, like I'll tell you what I do on my end as far as having the clothing and all the stuff we just discussed. I use bug dope.
Yeah.
A formula from the 1800s.
Yep.
I don't always use it though. And that's really only on exposed skin. And then, you know, I think when people are watching like all these bushcraft survival videos, it's like, okay, where's the beauty berry? Where is everything in the mint family?
Yeah.
You know, can I take the hickory leaves and lay them down in my bed and that's going to repel the chiggers, for example, right? There's lots of remedies that are natural out there. But we were in areas too where you may not have those resources.
Not always.
Or the availability of
and
those
and those for the I've done a lot of those, like the mints, like I use horse mint here and I'll smear it on my body. It works very temporarily in my experience. Freshly applied,
right.
It works, but then after a short period of time, especially if you're sweating and stuff, it's gone.
Yeah. That's reality, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Smoke.
Smoke is
smudge
another
fires.
big one. Smudge fires are an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Have those all around your camp, especially upwind of you, so that smoke is lofting through you. But in my experience, if you're not directly in the smoke, breathing the smoke heavily, then it's not effective. They'll be around the cloud.
And you can actually see them flying around in the smoke.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It works, but it's
right.
You're just going to have to, if you're outside, just deal with it.
I think a big part of that too is location, right? The location of where we set up our camps. We talked about that earlier with the water, not in the bottoms, etc.
That's a big deal.
Yes,
that's a big
huge deal.
Yeah, that's huge. In a breezy, anytime you can get in a breezier area, mosquitoes and biting things don't fly as well in wind, especially mosquitoes.
Which will lessen the amount of spider webs that you have to walk through.
Yeah, I don't care how often, we talked about this earlier, I don't care how experienced you are in the woods. Yep. You walk into a banana spider web.
Oh my God.
Right here, it's every time. It freaks you out. Every single time. So there's that. Let's see, what else we got? Oh, you touched on hygiene a little bit. Yeah, hygiene's a big one. A lot of people let's say you're in that scenario that we're in for real, and you've got to cover some ground in a nasty, swampy summertime, and you neglect your hygiene, you'll get away with it for
crotch rot, jungle rot.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Trench foot, all the stuff.
Trench foot.
You'll get away with it, but for a very short period of time. You'll get away with it for a 48-hour period, perhaps.
Right.
But beyond that, it's
real.
Yeah, you're going to be in trouble. So you're going to get fungal infections, and it's going to be bad. And if you have any chafing, those will get infected, and it'll
when you really start stinking, that's when you really need to start doing things like getting in the creek, even washing your clothes out in the creek.
Yep. And if you can't get access to water, a wet wipe. If you have a small pack of wet wipes, man, those are game changers.
The KFC bath.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, game changers.
Yeah,
Not only will it keep you from getting infections and all that kind of stuff, but it just makes you feel 1,000 times better if you can just wipe yourself off with one wet wipe.
You know, another one too was I had been going hard, and I sat down and I went to sleep, and I'm probably mouth breathing because it was so humid at the time. I woke up and it was like the raccoon had literally shat in my mouth. Right? And I was thinking about, man, I've got to find a sweet gum tree so I can brush my teeth.
Yeah, just clean it up a bit.
Like,
you just feel better. Yeah.
That's something that you need to think about as well.
Your morale is definitely improved. This is a really good video. Well done. Yeah. Thanks.
I think for the most part, all the comments were pretty much positive on both videos.
Yeah.
I think we did get challenged on a couple things. I think we handled that in the video pretty well.
Sure.
As far as talking points go.
Yeah, and we can't talk about everything. Single thing. The video would be...
And that's not the end-all, be-all survival video, rendezvous, SHTF video.
Yeah, you can't touch on every single point because the video would end up being 6 hours long.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my video is really long.
It would be a docu-series.
My video, that's the longest video maybe I've ever done. I don't know. It was close to an hour long. Which was nice because I had to edit a little less, actually. Because I just leave the content in there, and I went for it. But
mine was an hour, and I was scared to post an hour-long video.
Yeah, me too.
And I kept cutting and cutting and cutting until I got it down to, I think mine was 40-something minutes.
Still a long video.
It's still a long video.
But even then, you can't cover everything.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So we're coming down to the end here.
Yeah.
I think we've covered just about everything we wanted to cover in those videos. Maybe in the comment section they could get in there and talk about future videos that they want to see out of us, right? We're always trying to take your ideas and we're trying to to make those things happen.
Yeah, I'm always grateful for content ideas, because that's one of the hardest parts of what we do, is coming up with fresh ideas to keep it light, you know, keep people interested. I mean, I make 3 videos a week, and maybe that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot.
I did the exact same thing.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough to get new content ideas every week, doing and pumping out that much content. So
yeah, and give us your thoughts too on the after action report, like the things that we talked about. Is there something that we left out, or a topic you'd like for us to discuss?
If you missed those videos, make sure you watch them, and then you can chime in. Yeah. So
watch the videos in their entirety.
Yes.
Before you actually respond.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, oftentimes you'll get comments about stuff that you addressed later in the video, and you can tell
come
people
on, bro.
Yeah, you can tell they've commented
early.
Did you
even watch the video?
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Well, I think that about sums it up, y'all. So get in the comment section, leave us a snide remark if you're honey smack digging the video. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, ding.
Ding.
And until next time, fuel the fires.
See ya.